of your recent tweets said something about how we're all talking about entering a crypto winter, but when was the crypto summer?
Right.
When did that actually take place?
Yeah, I missed that.
Why are you such a hater when it comes to Web3?
I actually didn't mean to be a hater. It's funny. I sort of just stumbled into apparently being a hater, but I pay attention to basically every tech trend that emerges. You kind of have to if you're obviously in this audience or in any kind of tech company, because you want to know, like, well, where's the future going, and you have to try and make the right types of bets for your organization or your team or whatever you're working on. And so every time there's a new big wave of technology, whether it's VR or AI or obviously cloud computing or many of the sort of subgenres of those technologies, you want to understand, well, is this going to have an impact, a meaningful impact on my business or my product? And then how do I adapt to it? And so that led me to obviously studying Web3 as an example, because there was a lot of great commentary about this could be the future of a decentralized, much more open and equitable kind of internet platform. And that is actually extremely exciting. So philosophically, I'm actually very aligned to the ideals of Web3. But then when you kind of drill into it a bit more on both the technical dimension as well as more of the kind of economic and human behavior and incentive dimension, I struggled to sort of think through how this would actually play out in a way that was matched and married to what the proponents were talking about. And so if you kind of just look at the technology itself, it's super interesting for trading limited amounts of data and passing money and things of value back and forth. Not super effective if you had to scale a global scale internet service and decentralize it meaningfully using a blockchain. So a lot of the technical architecture didn't really make a lot of sense. And then the economic challenges were those of just I think what we're now seeing kind of blow up, which is a lot of the value was built on other people believing that something had value and then them paying more for it, and eventually that kind of runs out. And so a lot of the dynamics of various crypto projects didn't seem to have sort of strong network effects. In fact, they kind of had anti-network effects where the larger they get, the more people want to bail because you've already made your profit, and so then you bail, and then you sort of unwind the value of that project. And so for again, a variety of reasons, it just didn't feel like it was going to play out as some kind of viewed. And so then you kind of look at the whole macro picture of technology, and you think about the prior panel, you think about all the things we can do in healthcare, transportation, communication, entertainment, retail, commerce, education, and you have so much of a large landscape to go and innovate in. And a lot of what we were seeing was in Web3 would not impact any of those things. It's really for trading things that we ostensibly, kind of are creating value around. And so it felt like a little bit of a mismatch between the hype and what the impact will ultimately be able to be.
You do think, though, that the concept of decentralized innovation has some promise?
I think that the internet already does that. That's the power of the web. The web is a decentralized medium that lets anybody build a company and start an idea. And if you want to go totally off the grid and not use Amazon Web Services or Google, you can totally do that. And so I think we actually have a sufficiently decentralized network. I think the idea of having more openness, more protocols, more open source, those are all fantastic ideas. I think tokenizing those with sort of somewhat opaque incentive schemes, I don't think actually plays out in practice in the way that we think it will.
Okay, I'm going to do like hard pivot to Box, because there isn't a good segue for Web3 and
you
Box.
You can't really segue from crypto to really anything naturally. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us just a little bit about the last couple of years and the shifts at Box and sort of how you've led the company through all this mess.
Yeah. Well, which mess are you referring to?
The pandemic.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about product too, but internally, just I know you have a lot of thoughts on future of work. So what have you learned along the way and how to lead today?
Yeah, okay, because we had activists, so we had our own mess, kind of
You're bringing up all these great topics.
I know. We like to create our own dramas sometimes. So we started the company in 2005, and the original idea was make it easy and secure to access and share information from anywhere. And that was like the premise of the company. And so in the very sort of business plan of the idea of the business, we had remote work as sort of central to why why we were starting the company was make it so in the future you could just work from anywhere and access your data from anywhere. So as the pandemic kind of ripped through basically every country, it was very easy for us to respond to that operationally because our company was sort of built for this type of environment. And then strategically, it was built to serve customers in this type of situation. And so what we did, though, is we stepped back and we said, okay, how should we make sure that our product roadmap is now really oriented toward what is no longer a visionary idea of the future, i.e. hybrid work or remote work or working from anywhere, but now actually a necessity for every corporation. And we had spent basically a decade and a half trying to convince everybody that the future was work anywhere at any time, 24/7, you can access information from anywhere, and now that was no longer a strategic advantage for companies, it was just like definitionally how you worked. So we basically relooked at our whole product strategy, we got into a number of new markets as a result of the pandemic and where we thought work was going to be changing. And now we're kind of well into that roadmap of just trying to reimagine how are companies going to want to work with all of their data in a secure way, with more automation, with more intelligence, with more collaboration from, again, any device, anywhere, anytime.
So has selling actually has making the pitch gotten easier to large companies?
Yeah, I mean, we're basically, the pitch is sort of now established, and it's sort of the default. You don't have to pitch cloud computing anymore. You don't have to pitch remote work anymore. You don't pitch digital transformation anymore. Now it's the nuances of what are you adding to the IT architecture that wasn't possible before. And our single mission is that we think there's a tremendous amount of data that is being created all around the world that's incredibly valuable, and right now it's fragmented across lots of different systems, and so our platform is meant to go and simplify that problem to help companies actually get more value out of all of the data and the content that they're working with.
Okay, question for Aaron and about his tweets.
Can we keep the tweets out of it, or, okay.
He's also very eager to talk about Twitter and the Elon Musk deal, so if you...
Yes. Hi, Dom. Aaron, good to see you again.
Hey, Dom, how you doing?
I'm doing well, doing well. I'm just curious, with Starboard, having dealt with activist shareholders myself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it wasn't fun at Pandora, but just curious, what's your take on that? That you brought it up, and I thought it was a very...
Yeah, I really didn't mean to bring it up. Can we edit that out of so...
We're live,
yeah.
by the way.
Well, so it was a very much a learning experience, and it's definitely not something that I would recommend anybody want to go through, but I'm actually of two minds. I actually really like that we have a form of capitalism that allows shareholders to participate as actively as they see fit. And there's a nice game theory because those shareholders will only do as much as they think other shareholders will support. And so you sort of there's a nice system to it. And in this case, we had a shareholder that we actually worked pretty collaboratively with. And eventually we sort of diverged in views of where we wanted to take the company long term and kind of our strategy versus theirs. And so, unfortunately, we couldn't then negotiate any further. We couldn't kind of align on a path, and so then it had to go to an actual proxy fight where basically everybody gets the vote. And fortunately, we sort of handily won the vote. But in the process, it's a year-long of engagement of just constant back and forth and debating lots of minutia about the business. And what happened in a phone call between you and it's kind of bizarre the level of depth it gets into. When actually really it's like a fundamental vote of, do you like this strategy or do you like the activist strategy? So learned a ton, mostly how to try and avoid, getting into the situation in the first place. But I like the element of capitalism that sort of affords us this ability where shareholders have a voice and can sort of sway companies. Obviously, in the case of maybe Pandora or other companies that maybe didn't play out as positively from a strategic standpoint. So we've seen plenty of examples where that can veer companies completely off course, which is incredibly disheartening.
Okay, so it was a learning experience.
Definitely a learning experience.
Okay, one more quick question for you. You missed the session we had here last night because you were too busy tinkering with the light switches at your hotel. But we had this very heated discussion on the tech exodus or supposed tech exodus away from Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
What has kept you in Silicon Valley? And I remember, by the way, the first time I met you, you guys were still in the building at Fry's, where Fry's Electronics, rest in peace, was.
Yep.
So. You've been there for a while. What's kept you there?
Was that a pandemic loss, or was that before the pandemic that we lost Fry's?
That was before the pandemic.
Okay. So I mean, a lot of reasons why I'm personally still in the Valley. Friends, the weather, nostalgia. So I think there's a long list of those things. I do think that the push for hybrid or remote work is a boon for just the globe. The fact that anybody anywhere can participate in technology companies that normally would have been very, very constrained to a very limited amount of geography. I think this is a great thing for society, for business, for technology. A friend sort of considers it a great way to export, hopefully, better cultures to companies all around the world. If you have a company that is not very innovative, that maybe is oriented around micromanagement and not a lot of transparency, not a lot of collaboration, they now have to compete with a company that will hire people remote. And everybody has to sort of up their game because we've now sort of exported hopefully more modern ideals about business and how companies and cultures work. So I see that as a great thing. But for me personally, it's hard to beat the Bay Area.
Well, we're really happy you came to Aspen.
Thank you.
Too, so we
Good to be here.
Good to see you on stage, not just on Twitter.
This is like the first time, so good to be out of the house. It's been getting really kind of crazy in there. Okay,
We
great.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you
All right,
so
see you
much,
guys.
Jared.
Thanks.